It's a really amazing story. And, I think it has a lot of parallels to today as well. Like what you said about the timing of when you went out and raised it and, the environment at the time and, the naysayers, et cetera. I think it's probably pretty similar to what Web3 founders and potential emerging managers are experiencing now. We have this the pendulum swings, right? Like you go from way like overreaching optimism and like unbounded optimism to it swings the other way, and suddenly we're in this environment where personally I feel like we're at like really unbounded pessimism, and everyone's like, oh, everything's dead, nothing's going to ever work again, the VCs, private markets are dead, all of that, pessimism. And the reality is it's going to swing back and it'll be somewhere in the middle. But for founders today, there's a lesson in there of like, your kind of message of slight irrationality and like throwing caution to the wind a little bit as you if you do have that level of belief in what you're building and doing.
Well, I think so. One thing that Lee isn't saying because she's quite humble is that she was known as really the passion economy leader or one of the leaders here in the space. And I remember when you started fundraising, Lee, for Atelier, and Late Checkout put a mini, a small check in. And the reason why we put it in was because even though the world was falling apart, like if anyone's going to figure it out in this space, it's going to be Lee. And if you believe in that space, so those are the two things, and you have capital, I guess those are the three things. The same was true, I invested in Variant Fund One with Jesse. I think it was April 2020 or something like that. Um, because Jesse was, he was, I believe, one of the best crypto managers, and he wrote the first thesis on ownership economy, and published that popular blog post. And I think the lesson is, in Sahil, you speak about this all the time, but like the lesson is really like, how do you become the
Yeah.
community guy or the frameworks, girl, or the passion economy person or whatever it is, and build that audience so that when you do need an ask, when you need that ask, like you only need a few people to say yes to your fund, or a few people to, you
Hmm.
only need Andreessen to to fund your company, right? You only need a couple yeses to create
Yeah.
momentum.
Yeah, I'm looking. I mean, the way you said that, Greg, I thought was perfect. Like, Lee, I'm on your website, lee-jin.co, and I'm at the bottom and I'm looking at your top posts. And all I see is like I'm looking at the dates of these posts and when you were putting out this writing. And you say that it kind of came together. The reality is like you were putting out these amazing posts on this stuff on the topic of, 100 True Fans came out in February 2020 before all this. You wrote about ways to measure network effects. You wrote about startups on consumer platforms like TikTok, etc. All of that stuff. It was like, the 10 years to become an overnight success with these
Yeah.
things. And so to Greg's point, I think Naval calls this like type 4 luck, which is you become an expert at something and you build an audience around this expertise, and then luck comes to you. Luck comes to you, quote unquote, in the sense that like people seek you out for that. And
Mhm.
suddenly, you've been putting out amazing content around this. You're sharing in public, which is a great way to get lucky because you sort of cast these like idea magnets out into the world around all this stuff. And now suddenly, you are the passion economy person and you've built a reputation for that and you've shared unique individual ideas around it. You're not just kind of like tailing on the back of other people. And a lot is possible on the back of that when you do that.